Harry Plowman, hard as hurtle arms, where the broth of goldfish flew, breathed round the rack of ribs, the scooped flank, lank, rope over thigh, knee nave and barreled shank, head and foot, shoulder and shank. By a gray eyes he steered well. One crew full to stand at stress, each limb's marrow brawn, his thew, that one where curled, one where sucked or sank, soared or sank, though as a beach mole bowl firm finds his as at a roll call, rank and features, in flesh what deed he each must do, his sinew service where due. He leans to it, Harry, bends, look, back, elbow, and liquid waist in him, all quail to the wallowing of the plow's cheek crimson's curls, wag or cross bridle, and a wind-lifted, wind-laced, see his wind lily locks laced, churl grace, too, child of Ammon's strength, how it hangs or hurls them, broad and bluff hide, his frowning feet lashed, raced with along them crag iron, under in cold furls, with a fountain's shining shot furls. Okay, so this poem is difficult, again, for its prosody. It's the arrangement, syntax, the strange words that Hopkins himself creates. But overall, what we're looking at here is another one of his, I call them cameos, but it's like a portrait painting, all right? And we find it's a picture of a workman in the field. Actually, it's based on a real incident in Dromore, which is in the north of Ireland, and it's a man plowing a field. So we have a lot of the imagery that goes with that kind of scene, with the mud, farrow, and but overall it's a picture of him, of the man himself, and he comes across as a brawny, very strong individual with rope over thigh, muscles, and there are other references to his muscles and his strength and his sinews, the ligaments, the muscles that hold the ligaments to his bones. And so Hopkins is focusing on each of these parts, body parts, really. And he uses a couple of analogies in doing that. One is almost like a troop of soldiers, and each has its own work to do in like a drill, and that would represent the body, almost like the parable, the analogy that St. Paul uses, the parts of the body, and like Christ is the church is the bride of Christ, and we are the members of the church, and we each partake of that. So like the vine, the branches as well. So that kind of subtle imagery comes through in this poem as well. I'll walk through my little analysis first, and then we'll go back. And like many of his other poems, Harry Plowman is based on an experience that he witnessed in Dromore, Ireland, during a short stay. He was on a vacation there, and it was only for a few days, and he observed this laborer working in the field. And it's a chordated sonnet, which means that it still has the 14 lines, the octave and the sestet, but the lines are not the same length. He has like tails on some of the lines, additional words extended. And he describes the physical activity of a strong man whom he celebrates for his prowess, moving behind a plow with power and dexterity. The entire sonnet is like a portrait painting, focusing on the man's body, singling out each body part, and celebrating its unison of collaborated movement with the other parts of the body. Hopkins intimates the metaphor of a squadron or a well-trained troop of soldiers, each contributing to the overall impact of a well-coordinated formation of movement. And that's what we see in the picture of Harry Plowman as he looks down at the soil as he moves forward with his, really tough muscles. He calls them to compare them to a bowl of a tree back there somewhere. I forget what kind of a tree. But anyway, we'll get back to that again. So it would appear that the purpose of the sonnet is nothing more than to create a picture of a strong man doing his work. And this echoes his signature that we found in many of his other works, and that is of selving, a uniqueness, separate from other things. And we find that Hopkins' mantra of this is who I am, this is what I do. We saw that in many of his other poems, like the Sea and the Skylark, and As Kingfishers Catch Fire. This is who I am, this is what I do. Well, in this case, it is the plowman. This is who he is, and this is what he does. Referring to this poem in a letter to Robert Bridges, this is what he wrote. For Harry Plowman to succeed, as a poem now, he must be first and foremost a vivid figure before the mind's eye. If he is not, then the poem fails. So when you read this poem very closely, you can examine each of Plowman's features. His eyes, the gray eyes that are very keen and direct his other body parts because he's moving forward, and it's all coordinated. The effect of the details is a picture of a man of strength, bordering on a subtle comparison to a beast of burden, like an ox, moving through the field. And this man is monstrous. Big legs, big arms. We are given a close picture of Harry's body parts: hard, hurdle arms, rack of ribs, roped over thigh, barreled shank, each limb barrow brawn, his thew, his legs are, that's the one, beech bowl firm. A bowl is like the stump of a tree, and it's a beech tree. So his legs are like trunks of trees. And that's the overall impact that the poem produces. The image of the body's coordination of movement is accompanied by a suggestion of military commands such as stand at stress, as in stand at arms, and fall to, So these are commands that he obeys from himself. He's given himself commands to coordinate his activities as he is moving always forward. Many of Hopkins' poems address the issue of conservation and find fault with the effects of industrialization. All right, so those are like the environmental poems. Hopkins finds beauty in natural things and simple ways of living. This poem celebrates the richness found in a strong man answering his roll call. Harry answers the call to service by doing a good day's service, using his brute strength, turning over the soil with nothing more than a plow, no modern tools. This image is also seen in the window in the closing line, sheer plod makes plow down Cillian shine. And in that line, it meant like by doing your day-to-day chores, you perfect yourself because you're doing God's work and you're fulfilling your purpose. And that's what Harry is doing here too. So here we are told that Harry is answering his roll call in the closing line of the octave, and these are the lines: and feature in flesh what deed he must do. his sinew service where due. So, that speaks for itself. He's doing what he's called to do using his body, features in his flesh, the sinews. So the word sinew suggests the muscles that tie the muscles to the bones. That would have been the ligaments. Here, then, Harry is depicted as a strong laborer doing a good day's work using his muscles. All right, so let's go back and see if that opens up. I'm sure there are other things here I didn't cover because, frankly, I don't know what he means by the first line, a broth of goldfish flew, but anyway, a few things like that are beyond me. So let's go back over it. Hard as hurdle arms, with a broth of goldfish flew, breathe it round. I don't know what that means. The rack of ribs, the scooped flank, lank, rope over thigh, knee nave, barreled shank, head and foot, shoulder and shank, by a gray eyes heed, stared well. I like that line. By a gray eyes heed. In other words, you pay heed to something, right, with your eye. And then it stared, like you stare at an automobile, stared his whole purpose well. His eye, in other words, he's acute. He's looking and he's doing his job as best he can. His gray eye heed stared well. One crew, that would be, of the army. One crew is one member. Okay, full two, stand at stress. So those are the commands. Each limb barrels brawn. So there's brawny, that means strength. His thew, that one where curled, one where sucked and sank, wrought. I think he's talking here about his feet going into the mud. That's the impression I get. Each limb's barrel brawn. Here, his thew, that one where curled, one where sucked or sank, soared or sank. All right. I don't know, but to me, it sounds like that's his, feet going into the soil and lifting his leg and pushing forward. That's the image I get there. Might be wrong. Though as a beech bowl firm. Okay, so that again shows the strength of his legs. Finds his as at a roll call rank and features in flesh what deed he each must do, his sinew service where due. I explain that line. All right. He leans to it, right? Leaning into his labor. Harry bends. Look, back, elbow, liquid waste in him. All quail to the wallowing of the plows. Cheek, crimsons, curls, wag or cross bridle, and a wind-lifted, wind-laced. Now, the impression I get here is that obviously is, his hair. And he's a big, big fellow. And the wind is like lifting his locks. I'm probably wrong, but that's what I see there. Wag or cross bridle, I don't know what that means. And a wind-lifted, wind-laced. See his lily locks laced. Chill grace too, child of Amonstrant, how it hangs or hurls them. All of that he's talking about, I think, his locks, his curls, his head. Broad and bluff hide, his frowning feet lashed, raced with along them crag iron under and cold furls with the fountain's shining shot pearls. Okay, that's kind of vague to me at the end. So that's the best I can do on that one.